Hey guys, I've seen that there's been a lot of new people playing the game, a lot of people coming in and asking questions about builds, and there's been a couple of complaints about how they're laid out in the Discord. I don't have anything to do with that, but I'm going to make a build guide here really quickly just to lay out things on how I did it and how I got through the story, how I was able to clear all of the campaign, all the maps, and able to farm anything in the game other than like extremely deep delve. So I went with the tank ship. The tank ship gives you access to a couple different ascendancies. So this one is the one that we're going to go later on. I'm not going to focus on this one right now. This one's a whole lot more damage, but you do lose survivability. The one you're going to start out with is going to be Balu. You're not going to get your ascendancy until 15, but once you do get it, you can take this node right here. If you're not doing a whole bunch of damage, you're going to have to test it, right? There is going to be some things that you're going to have to try, see if you're at that point, and if you're not at that point, just go take a point in something else that's useful to you. It doesn't have to be the same amount of useful, just useful. Um, you get 40% increased mass, and you have 10% less damage taken while you have 100 mass. That's 40% damage, or 40% less damage taken right there. You also get to convert some of your thermal damage to kinetic damage. So basically, what that means is that your resistances do not need to be overcapped really in any way, shape, or form except for kinetic. You get your kinetic resistance up to 90%, you're golden. I'm going to pause right here and talk about resistances real quick. This game actually tells you how it's working, so make sure you're paying attention to the numbers. A lot of people think the difference between, say, 70 and 75% resistance is 5% less damage taken. It is not. I'm not going to use 75, I'm just going to use 80 as an example because it makes it easier math. So the difference between 70 and 80 would be 10%, right? No, because you're taking 30% of the damage at 70%. So by getting an additional 10%, you're literally reducing the damage that you're taking by 33%. Once you get over like that 70% mark, every extra res point that you get becomes absolutely huge to your maximum health pool and how much damage you can actually take. All right, got through that. I'm going to go over what I did for the build initially. So this passive tree, I am going to unspec here. Hopefully I remember to re-click this and click discard because we do not want to get rid of everything. So Ascendancy, you're not going to get all your points all at once, but essentially the path I took was I took the more mass. Mass equals armor. In this game, armor is HP. Um, I took the death threshold because it's good damage. I took increased mass, and I took this one. Now, something you can do if you end up getting a soul stone is you can take this as a soul stone or any one of these as a soul stone. Wouldn't take this one because that's going to get in your way. But any one of these ones is a soul stone. And then you can eventually go into this. This one actually pairs really well with the reflect because it counts. So when you're reflecting 1% of your damage back to you, you're pumping up your own damage when you're using this one. So it's really good. Okay. So for the tree, we're mass stacking. So essentially you're going to go this weird zigzag up along here. You can go on the other side if you want. You don't have to, like, whatever side you want to go up this zigzag is fine. You're going to go take this maximum kinetic resistance because you're converting your thermal damage to kinetic. So that's super useful for you. There's a chip socket right here. Don't pay no attention to the gems I have in my sockets for right now. We'll talk about those a little bit later. You're going to make your way up the tree. This is more kinetic damage. You can go right up here, but usually what I'll do first off, because this game has there's no invincibility frames in this game, right? So if you have 100 projectiles coming at you and you don't have any dodge, you're getting hit by 100 projectiles, and it is going to obliterate your ship. So I build tanky earlier on. You can take this. Excuse me, I'm just going to clear my throat. You can take this early on. It'll give you 50% more armor. That's huge. That's HP, so it's going to increase your max hit by a ton. I'd go over to there and grab that. Next things you can grab. This can be really nice early on because the ability you're going to be using is going to be a melee one. It's going to make your range a little bit weaker if you don't have this, and having that little bit of extra range can keep you out of danger, right? We're going to go get this kinetic damage as soon as you can because it's also reducing their resistances, so it's a huge multiplier. You're going to go up and grab this. So you're converting now 50% of your thermal damage taken to kinetic damage, and you're increasing your maximum again. You're going to go over and grab these. You're going to grab this one because that's going to make you take 20% less damage again. So I think with that all together, 20% there, and I think we get 40 there, you're already at 60% less damage taken going through the campaign. You mix that with a couple reses, you're going to have a great time. Like, you're not... It may be a bit slow going killing stuff, but you're going to have a great time. You're not going to get killed over and over again. Just go tanky early on, and then you figure out the damage. It's much better experience. You can go down here. You can see this is one of the reasons we're mass stacking. It's absolutely amazing. We get 1% armor per mass. I haven't done too much testing with this, but I assume this is actually better early on. I just didn't look too much into knockback. If you manage to get a knockback link rune, I'd probably use these 2 points. You're going to get a bunch of leech, and you're going to get a bunch of damage by just equipping the knockback rune. I'm calling it a rune. It's actually a mod in this game. I've played so many RPGs at this point that it all blends together when it comes to the names of things. But yeah, these will give you huge damage if you get a knockback. If you don't get knockback, that's fine. You don't need to go grab those. What I would do is you want to definitely go over here and grab this. Any bit of maximum kinetic res you can get early on, really good to grab. What you want to do eventually, I'm just trying to think here. You can come over here. This is what I did early on, at least. I came over and grabbed this one for 32% increased damage. You can get some more healing right there. You can come over here and get 12% more armor as well. And then another path, this is going to seem weird, but technically this would be a more efficient path. Let me actually just do this. Is if you went through here. So yes, we are gaining armor here. You're going to want that early on. If you don't get at least a little bit of armor early on, you're going to feel super squishy. That's kind of why I go this way. But once you're feeling like you're not squishy anymore, that's when you can reroute this way. And it looks like a kind of a weird path, but you can see everything that we're getting here is big damage. And then we can disconnect these. We do lose a little bit of tankiness, right? But we gain a lot of damage by taking this path because there's a whole bunch of attack speed along here. You can even take this one still because this one is, you know, it's a pretty good point, getting 4 mass, 2 energy, and 2 time. Those are, in most builds, all damage scaling stats. Next up, we're going to go over this way. And it's actually a good reason. Like, once you get the damage, right, or the tankiness, it's a good time to move over to here because we start going this way anyway. There is chance for hits to do double damage. That's extremely strong early on. There's increased attack speed and chance to do an additional attack. That's extremely strong early on. You can come over here and get the halo effect. There is, where's the time effect one? There's one right here. Attack speed per time. So that is absolutely huge. Why can't I spend that point? Oh, weird. Why did it reset my top tree but not my bottom tree? That's interesting. I didn't realize that it did that. Okay, well, something I didn't know. So as you can see, like, that's a huge amount of attack speed for us right now. So even though we are mass stacking, you get time as a secondary stat on everything. So if it already has mass, you got a free stat, get time. Get time anywhere that you can't put mass in the slot. Except, and I really shouldn't be going to this point yet, but eventually you'll get to something called Dragon Eyes. If you already know what they are, I go 2 mass Dragon Eyes, 1 time Dragon Eye. They give you a bunch of stat points, basically. I'll go over them here later in the video. But yeah, always go mass, and then if you can get time, get time. Once we've gone over to here, um, at this point, you're not going to have these points. I'm going to leave these here for now because we're going to talk about that in a second. But basically, you're just going in here. You can click on DPS from this point and stuff like that chip socket. If you can craft on a chip and put it in there, it's huge. You can see the stats we're getting off that. That literally costs us 2 points to get to. It's an amazing damage upgrade. There's another socket right here. If you can go over and grab that, grab that. Temporal Frenzy, we already talked about. We don't really need any of this radiation stuff early on. Goliath. This one's extremely important. Forgot about that one. Goliath, Fate Weaver, these two. Early on, massive. Goliath till the end game. Like, anything that says per one mass, you're never getting rid of, basically. Alright. That is what my skill tree looks like. I want to give you an idea of like the gear that you would use. I don't really have any low level gear to show you guys, but I can show you what I have and like what would be best to use based on the slots, right? So first off, we're only using one weapon right now. You are going to be using two weapons. 100% you're going to be using two weapons. It's really hard for me to like go over everything that you're going to want to do in the early game because I just don't have it anymore. But let me bring up my mods here. So things like attack speed, you're going to have that on early on. You're not going to have a lot of attack speed, so getting more attack speed is good until you get to the point where it's not giving you that much, right? Any ARPG is a game of diminishing returns. So once it's giving you less damage than it was and something else is going to give you more, then you take attack speed off and swap it. The melee damage one is really good. This one, Crush, extremely good early on. You're going to want to use that. Kinetic, extremely good early on. You're going to get that right away. Let me just see what else we have here. The Kinetic Virus, it's called Crush, I believe. No, it's not called Crush. What's it called? Let me just look it up here for you. Virus. Crumble, sorry. Crumble is extremely good. You want to put that on your offhand weapon. So I'm only using one weapon here, but say this is my main weapon and this is my offhand. You'd put Crush on your offhand because it's applying a debuff to the enemy, so it doesn't need to be on your main hand to improve the damage. The reason I'm saying that is a lot of stats in this game are local. So what that means is if it's a damage stat like increased kinetic damage, typically that only applies to the item that it's on, right? So this increased kinetic damage is actually increasing the flat kinetic damage up there. And the attack speed is increasing the attack speed on the item itself. And then your attack speed that you get on your mod scales up the attack speed based on the attack speed that it received from that increase. So yeah, you'd use your offhand Crumble. That'll reduce the resistance, make you do more damage. Early on, you're going to be doing pure kinetic. Just trying to think of another mod or two you put on there. You could have additional attacks on. No, I wouldn't use it. I don't think additional attacks is like actually good on most things, just because it reduces your damage by 50% for that extra attack. Let's see here. What other melee mods are there? Unseen Strike. Unseen Strike, you're going to use the whole time. You're never going to stop using Unseen Strike. It is so good once you get your hands on it. And I will try to like make a list here and make a little screenshot of a lot of this information so it's not as... This video is going to be long, obviously. It's my first time making a build guide video for this. And I want to take everything and just put it on a piece of paper, basically, for you guys to be able to go through. And it's like, okay, these are the mods I should use. These are the items I should use, stuff like that. I'm only going to have an early game and a late game version because the mid game isn't that bad. Like, once you get going, it's pretty self-explanatory, a lot of the things. For gear. So you're going to have Papyrus pretty early on. Just get Papyrus. 40% more effect. If you can get one with a fracture on it, amazing. Until you get Papyrus, just go with whatever's giving you the most stats, the most armor. Like it's it's just a balancing game, right? If you're doing enough damage, get more armor on it. If you're not doing enough damage, get more damage on it. The two chip sockets, it's pretty rare. You can get that later on. That's gonna be more of an end game thing. Early game, if you get armor on it, you're gonna probably prefer that a lot more. But if you get the two chip sockets right off the bat, that's great, and then you can just roll stats on chips and put them on there, right? Like it gives you two extra slots in exchange for losing two auras, which you didn't need anyway. The warp, you're not gonna have any of this early on, right? Like you're not gonna have the plus two chip sockets, plus two level of all mods, but just go for the other stats, right? Attack speed, dodge, time, mass. That's if you can get those four stats, they don't even need to be high. That's good. Uh, on your shields, armor, armor. If you can get some maximum resistance, that's actually really good because you're not capped without this 2%, I don't believe. And then time and mass. Weapon, you get the damage you need. You're probably not going to get plus two to all mods, but if you do get it, that's cool. I don't believe you can get multi crit without a fracture, but if you can, that's great. It's not the most useful thing until later on, once you start scaling into the crit, but I'll explain that here in a minute. And then increase stack speed mass. Your central thing, you're not going to use Infestus early on. That's going to be when we do the switch, which I'm going to talk about here shortly. Early on, use the mass stacking one. So I'm going to bring that up here on video, but I'll also put it in the guide for you that I'm going to make, the little picture. Which chess piece is it? This one. Stone of Balu. So this was my last chess piece I was using. It just gives you a whole bunch of mass. You do lose some time putting it on, but it's 100% worth it. It's amazing. Saying that this would actually increase my damage. Oh, it's because I don't have a parasite on my spikes right now. I don't even know where my parasite mod is at right now. That's right there. Okay. Yeah, so that's our chest piece. Your shield, just match what you like. The same thing I said here. You want armor, you want time, mass. Maybe not max kinetic resistance on this one. Try to get dodge on this one as well. Like, we are armor stacking, but dodge is extremely powerful in this game. So if you can get like 20, 30, 40 dodge while you're in the campaign, it'll make a world of difference for you. Alright, so I think that basically covers like the beginning stuff. Like I can show you the fields here as well. I'm going to put that in video. Fields are auras if you've played Path of Exile. So same thing, pretty self-explanatory. Increases your resistance, increases your luck, things like that. Now we're going to talk about the nuclear version of the build. So what I'm using right now, you can see I'm doing a lot of damage. It's not like, there's definitely builds with more damage out there, but this is more than enough to do all the content you need to do. You will never worry about not having enough damage to farm something. You will be able to farm everything in the game. So let's look at the skill tree again, because it's completely different. So this is what the skill tree looks like for the poison build. During this, I should probably tell you about this. I'll talk about this real quickly before we actually go on to the build, because I technically skimmed over this. You will get something called Singularity. Singularity is Impossible Escape in Path of Exile, I believe it's called. It lets you start a new skill tree. When you get it initially, this is still like first version of the build. Technically, sorry for cutting off there and going back. You're gonna get multi-luck. Multi-luck is huge, and then you're gonna go over here and get Leprechaun. So from this point on, you never build any critical strike chance. If you if you did get any critical strike chance because you wanted to try it, once you get Leprechaun, you lose all your critical strike chance. You do not bother with it, but you get multi-luck, and you get double damage rolls per multi-crit. So, from my understanding, how this works is basically for every multi crit you have, it doubles your damage exponentially. So, if you had 100 damage and you have one multi crit, well, now you do 200 damage. If you had two multi crit, well, now you do 400 damage. If you had three multi crit, well, now you do 800 damage. And it keeps doubling. So, at 5, it would be 1600, and so forth, so forth. This is pretty big. It's not as big as the multiplier you would get from critting, obviously, but you don't have to build any crit chance. You never have to worry about crit chance. With 0% crit chance, you are going to hit this. And it's based on luck, to my understanding, which we are stacking luck in this build as well. That's why we have the luck aura. We do go over here and we grab that Fate Weaver luck node that I was talking about. Anything that's like a big amount of luck, we try to grab, because basically the way that status effects and chance-based things work in this game is off of luck, to my understanding. So when I spec into this, right, this is my only aftershock chance that we have, and we'll talk about aftershock here shortly, but just using this for the example, we have 10, we have 5, we have 5, and we have 15, right? So by my quick math, that's 35%. We do not have 35%. If we go and look here at our aftershock, you'll see we have 100% aftershock chance. And to my understanding, that's because of luck. Luck helps push up your chances. So even if you have a lower chance, it doesn't seem to work with crit, to my knowledge. But everything else that's like on hit could do this, it pumps up those stats. You only need a little bit, and then you get a whole bunch. I'm seeing my knockback chance is really low. That could probably increase my damage a whole bunch too if I got 100%. So, now that we went over that, I want to talk about the other version of the build. So this is the Gorilla version of the build. This I basically didn't switch out to until after I had already cleared the campaign and mapping. Like, I cleared all the maps with the bear build, and then I switched over to the gorilla once I felt like my damage just wasn't slapping the way I wanted it to. So, we'll go over this first. So, initially, you're going to use 2 spikes. You're going to have your main hand, which does most of the damage, and then the offhand that does almost as much damage, but is also inflicting things like virus. There's another thing that you can put on there. I can't remember. The virus is the important one because it's just reducing the resistances, gives you more damage. Oh, armor on hit and leech would go on your offhand as well, right? So you lose a lot of tankiness switching this. You don't have leech anymore. You don't have armor on hit, but there is some ways to get your HP back. For whatever reason, the HP aura doesn't seem to work. Like that armor aura that regenerates 9% of armor per second on my build. I don't know why, but it doesn't. So usually what I do is I just have high enough dodge, and then I go pick up armor pickups if I actually take damage. When your damage gets high enough, you just start screen clearing, so it's not that bad. So we're going to go with this. For the swap, we're going to get 1% more kinetic damage per mass and 24% increase in mass. So obviously that's a huge increase to our damage. Heavy impact, non-critical strikes deal 80% more damage, and hits have a 40% chance to deal double damage. That is absolutely huge for us. We're not dealing crits, and we are hitting the enemy, so it's both of those are massive. Soloist, 200% more damage if only 1% or one weapon is equipped, so that's a huge multiplier. Like, it's some of the for damage, these are insane. And then of course the last one, it actually lets you add a 7th socket onto your weapon as long as you're only wearing one weapon. So I put Zealot in there. It is the strongest melee mod, hands down. That is something you will be using early on, by the way. Oh, sorry, no, I put Steamhammer in there. The slot's name is Zealot. Steamhammer is the strongest early on. hands down. And even into late game, it is absolutely insane. That amount of flat damage with the more kinetic damage is huge. So getting the plus 10 levels on that is bonkers. It's ridiculous how much damage you're getting putting that in. So we'll go up here. This is all damage. No real tankiness here. Like, do not go this starting out. If you go this starting out, you're going to have a bad time. I almost guarantee you. Maybe you're a Chad and you're going to fly right through it, but probably going to have a bad time. So with this tree, we've had to optimize it a lot because I've gotten to the point where points don't mean as much to us as sockets, right? Sockets become extremely powerful later on. I was talking about the dragon eyes, things like that. We're just going to go along the line here and I'll explain everything. Like, I feel like that's the easiest way to do this one. So we go along the attack speed route. Then we come down here. We get our first socket. This is an empowered chip. You can only have 3 of those. As you can see, they give you really good stats, like more kinetic damage and increased time. That is huge. So you want to roll things like that on them and then socket them in. You can see this one alone is saying it does 43% of our damage. Don't follow that math. Like, you're probably seeing a lot of these things are like 100% of your damage, 100% of your damage. Not sure what's going on with the game, but after a certain point, everything just starts equating to 100% of your damage. So, but this is a huge chunk of damage. It's good, very good to have this. Then we come down to here, and we get that temporal frenzy attack speed. And then we go over here. Now, a little bit of a spoiler here, so maybe skip ahead 10 seconds. This is a boss item from one of the end bosses in maps. You will not be able to get this until you're doing like the pinnacle content, I guess you could call it. This will increase your mass per skill node on the shortest allocated path to another chaos circuit. So essentially what that means is, because this line goes all the way over to here, and there's like, 50 nodes between it or more. Like, there's probably, actually, I don't know, maybe there's 40 nodes. I get 40% more mass, or increased mass, I should say. So you do need 2 of them. They need to be, on either side. And then you get mass. All right, let's go down this route here now. And you can see the red line actually shows where it's connected to. We take that Goliath that we were talking about before. We take the Fate Weaver. That gives us the luck. On our Soul Stone here, this is like, basically lets you allocate somebody else's ascendancy or a major node on the tree. This is just the one that was doing the most for us. Essentially, it just makes our engine affixes count twice. I'm assuming that's doing the most just because the +2 to level, we're getting +4. It's extremely strong. Like, I was looking at a lot of different options, and this one just blows them out of the water. Then we come up here. We still have the face tank, of course, because it's 33% of your max hit. That is pretty huge. At this point, we come down and we actually take atomic assault. I'll explain why we do that. We're converting to nuclear. So we take atomic assault here, and I'm going to move over here and look at this real quick. We take nuclear here. So we're converting 100% of our kinetic damage into nuclear. We are no longer a kinetic damage build once we do this swap. We're 100% nuclear. You're going to grab a chip socket here. You're going to put Crit Ripper in if you have it. I probably should have put that in the earlier build as well, because that's something people are going to come across. It is very useful. It gives you multi-crit, reduced crit chance. There's no negative if you're doing the lucky thing. Come down here, get another chip socket. Come over here and grab Giant again. Go up here and grab the knockback hits, because at this point you are going to have the knockback mod. You're going to put it on your weapon, and you're just going to get a whole bunch more damage, like insane more damage, because we're at like 600 mass, so that's like 900% more damage. Like, it is ridiculous how big of a modifier that is. The problem with it is we're not at full knockback chance, I noticed, so I need to actually build my knockback chance up a little bit more, and this should like be insane amounts of damage. It'll probably be like 2 to 3 multiplier. We come down here, we grab another chip. Then we go all the way down here. We grab Tinker King for increased effects of our fields. And I just have this in here because I don't really know what I want to put in there at the moment. It's a free field slot, essentially. It's not even allocated right now. But if you do need an extra field or you want an extra field, there's your slot. You lost 4 of them with the chips once you get to like the endgame build, so you get an extra one right here. You don't have to worry about it. Next place we go over to is here. We grab Crit Ripper, but it's the empowered version. You can equip both of them. They do not count towards each other's limits. Come down here and we get Lucky Gamble for more luck, because luck is making our aftershock chance and everything like that go crazy. And then we go down here for the Chaos Circuit, and that's the end of that line. Down here we use Singularity to start a whole new skill tree. We still take these 2 points here. We also come up and grab Empyrean, because fields at this point are extremely strong, and I'm sure you've noticed we don't have any resistance on our gear. That's because Diamond alone, with the increased field effect, completely takes care of your reses. Like, it's... And we're not even capped Kinetic here, but completely takes care of your reses. Everything is 76 or above. That's the only resistance mod we have on too. Oh, other than Blast Guard, but you see Blast Guard, it's like, you know, it's ridiculous. We don't need that on. See? Aftershock immunity though is kind of cool because I know what it does now, and it's extremely powerful. That's why we're switching to nuclear, is to do Aftershock. So you saw that we have 100% Aftershock chance. We've taken these nodes here, then we make our way all the way up here, and we grab this one node, Armageddon. Explosive damage compared to nuclear. Okay, we're not doing explosive damage, but nuclear damage can cause Aftershock. Well, we've converted all our weapons damage to nuclear, so now we can do Aftershock. We still need Aftershock chance, so we come up here and we grab all these nodes to get the Aftershock chance and more Aftershock damage. And you can see that these are all very big increases to our damage. What Aftershock does, and it's absolutely insane, is each Aftershock deals 75% of the previous hit. Aftershock can repeat up to 5 times. So I'm assuming with my 100% chance, that means every time I hit, that damage echoes at 75% 8 times. Not 5 times, 8 times, because we have a 3 additional on top of that 5. That is a nasty damage increase. You're talking about almost like a 5 times multiplier. It's 100% worth converting for. It is going to feel a little bit weird when you're doing the conversion, but it's only 2 things, right? You need this, and you need the nuclear support mod that converts it. I don't know if I'm going to make a video or a step-by-step guide for like a little sheet for this version of the build, because I feel like if you're at this point, you probably have a good feel of how the game works. You understand a little bit of what I'm talking about. I am going to go over my gear again here real quick before I end off the video. I see it's already 30 minutes. Just so you can see what my gear is to do the damage that I'm doing right now. So we've got multi-crit. Oh, something I never even mentioned. This is important to the build for the late game one. You're using Parasite. Parasite is amazing. It's the best thing in the game. If you want to have a good time, use Parasite. It just attaches your weapon to an enemy. So it's like branding in Path of Exile. You cast your weapon. You don't even cast your weapon. You just go around and there's little parasites attached to everything, and everything on the screen dies. That's how Parasite works. That's the best way I can describe it. You are going to have an initial damage decrease when you put Parasite on. But it's going to be amazing afterwards. Essentially, what I did first was I converted to nuclear, and then I put Parasite on. I really don't think it matters. I think you can just, as soon as you get Parasite, you can start running it. If you are watching still and you were here for like the beginner version, if you get Parasite, just run it. Honestly, it might reduce your damage a little bit, but the quality of life is just absolutely through the roof. I haven't found anything else in the game that gives you quality of life like Parasite. All right. So we've got a couple things going on here. We got this knockback rune with the increased knockback, resistance, penetration. You do not need the awakened ones for any of these. Other than Parasite can be huge. One additional Parasite attached to them is massive. Other than that, none of these are like huge. They will increase your damage having them, but they're not like needed. So you just need the normal version of every one of these. You get a spike that is eternal. Eternal is tier 1. And you want it to have multi-crit on it. Multi-crit is one of the biggest scalers for our build. And getting it like, when you get it with the minus crit chance, we're not actually critting. We're using the lucky hit in order to double our damage with multi-crit. So it's amazing. That's one of the reasons we grab it on the shield. So we have this Abyss Walker shield. We are armor stacking on this build, so I got that double armor there. We got the +1 to multi-crit. We aren't really doing explosive damage. We're doing kinetic damage that's converted to nuclear, so I don't believe we get much benefit off that, but we might get some, depending on how the math of the game works, because explosive is getting converted to nuclear in the game currently. I don't think we do, but we might. We might get like a little bit of damage. This, once you switch to Parasite, is your chest piece. It is absolutely amazing. You can attach a Parasite to yourself. That'll defend you. It gives +8 to the Parasite mods, which is a huge amount of levels, and the enemies can have another Parasite attached to them. So I was talking about how that was good on the mod as well. Essentially what that means is multiple instances of your weapon can be attached to an enemy and attacking it. So it's almost like its own version of like doubling your damage. All these in the center are I'm just leveling them. None of these really matter. I'm just getting XP on them. Papyrus we talked about earlier in the video. For the end game, you are going to want a 2-chip socket version of both your Papyrus and your engine, in my opinion. You might find something you like more. Feel free to go with that. The 2-chip sockets is just huge on both of them. You're getting an extra 4-chip sockets that you don't have to get in your tree. Like, these aren't even huge chips, right? And you can see it's going to be a 20% damage increase on just like a basic one. Now, I can't put anything in other than basic ones because I'm out of my internal slots, but you can see we're getting 64% damage, 12% or 12 dodge. We could make it better on the bottom, get that mass up to 6 with 6 time, 4 mass, and some resistances, which we don't need anymore. We could actually change those out as well and get like maximum resistances like it is there. Like something like this is really, really nice. Other than that, I don't think there's too much more for me to cover on the build. Like, you're essentially, the whole thing with the damage is the scaling is you get everything in here that just obviously is just bonkers damage. You get the lucky hit, and you get the multi-luck. You get field effect, as much field effect as possible. And then you convert your damage into nuclear so that you can be doing aftershock, so that you can echo your damage multiple times. That's probably the gist of it. Other than that, and like mass stacking, there isn't too much more for me to cover, really. But, oh yeah, see, look, right here. This lucky punch right now, that's a good thing for me to see before the end of the video. Let me actually, like, so if you could spec a couple points over to here, I'm almost out of points. I think I'm 96. I got 4 points. I have a choice to make, right? Probably what the choice would be taking this empowered socket out, refunding these 3 points, and then putting that empowered chip in one of those other sockets so that I can get both of these. Because these are both huge. This one's going to increase my damage. It's going to double my damage. And this one's going to increase my damage by 50%. So knockout, once you get it, it's huge, huge. Yeah, I want to end the video off there before it gets too long. Thank you everybody who took the time to watch it and listen. If you enjoy the build, that's great. I'm very happy that you're enjoying the game. I want to see a lot of new people come and play it. I've been having a blast. My name is Dexy, and I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.